Welcome back. We now have the hard play-by-play and, of course, the Wish version of Stigs joining us on the desk. Elevate and The Last Dance is who we've got coming up. Xenox, how'd you feel about your broadcast so far?
Yeah, I'd give it a 6 out of 10, honestly.
Yeah.
There's room to improve. Probably the same can be said for the Knights.
Well, geez, sometimes you really hit the nail on the head. Guys, what are we thinking about this one? We've got the team that have shown a pretty good amount of dominance in 21 versus an unknown entity altogether.
Yeah, I'm really leaning into Last Dance personally heading into this matchup. They are the new kids on the block, and they're taking it up against one of the most formidable forces in the entire region, fresh off 6 Invitational as well. So there's a bit of a storm brewing in this one.
Ooh. Storms do be brewing, and we can start to talk about Elevate a little bit deeper here. Or maybe not, who knows, Xenox. Maybe we'll get underway with them, and maybe we'll talk about what... Oh, look at the background. That is so clean. That's a player house for you. That is a player house for you. But, sorry, I've kind of taken a little bit of a detour there.
What is
really
that clown? Scary.
Yeah,
and it's like really, terrifying. It's got a big stomach as well.
Is that Ronald?
That's Ronald McDonald. That's
it's Ronald from Wish.
Oh, jeez.
We've got the Wish McDonald's and the Wish Stigs on the same broadcast. However is that possible?
that is cursed.
That is something of my nightmares. Now, very quickly, let's talk about it seriously. God, you two come in, the professionalism goes out the window. I tell you what, Mark and Mr. Punch are now stepping in here, guys, or Xenox, whoever wants to come in here. Go for it, Xenox. You can speak on this roster's behalf.
Yeah, well, obviously, Mark comes in, Mr. Punch, both from Sharper Esports, which obviously another Thailand team, so local boys who get to make the big jump up into APAC South. Sharper was actually a team that I think going into relegations is one you would have kept an eye on and thought maybe could they make the jump into APAC South, but not to be. So why not just, join Elevate, a team that obviously had a tremendous time as an organization, I should say now, because obviously there's been roster shuffled at 6 Invitational. So I think many would have been surprised when the roster changes did come out off the back of 6 Invitational, and honestly a bit of a following that they gained from that as well. So obviously Napier, who was a tremendous player, he goes to substitute and Nerix leaves. I haven't quite kept up as to where Nerix left, but I think it's still nice that they've got Napier on the substitute role. And the reason for that is a lot of these Southeast Asian teams almost play like a 6-man roster role, right? At times we see those subs really do get utilized. So I think for Napier, having him still on the roster, really, really solid. And now we get to see what obviously Mark and Mr. Punch can do, which is probably going to become one of my more favored names.
Final quick comments here, guys, before we move on to The Last Dance.
Yeah, one thing I just want to flag is Onigiri, of course. He's wholesome. We love him so much. But he did, at 6 Invitational, actually break the kill record at that particular event. So if you don't know who he is, you're going to know pretty soon. Absolutely lights up the server week in, week out. And just an all-around good guy.
Certainly is. Now let's move on to The Last Dance, guys. I'll give it back to you. Sometimes we like to let Xenox talk for an entire graphic, but we also need to hear your voice here as well. They had a really impressive relegation fight to make it here. How are you feeling about this roster coming into what is the very first Playday of 2022?
Yeah, for sure. On that relegation run, or promotion for them rather, they did take down Bliss and MH from South Asia. So clearly they've got the pedigree to be in this position heading into that particular tournament. I don't think there was, again, much expectation on them to make big moves, but they did so. And for us, this is just our chance to sort of see what they're really made of at this top level. We have seen new teams come in and be a little bit inconsistent and struggle to get across the line at the very beginning. Direwolves probably being the most notable instance of that. So yeah, just for us, for them, it's just an opportunity to gauge where do they really sit here in APAC South. Are they a top contender, or are they going to be battling it out in the midfield?
And we got to meet Richard Nixon, didn't we, Xenox? I don't know if you remember those interviews. That was absolutely excellent. Any thoughts on The Last Dance before we get underway with the proceedings?
Yeah, look, honestly, I'm not going to speak as if I know a hell of a lot about these guys. They made an incredible run, and, that's obviously been beaten to death in a way we kind of didn't expect it, right? When we looked back at that bracket, I had Team Bliss winning against The Last Dance. That was a bit of a shock. That went, 2-1. And honestly, once they got past Bliss, then I wasn't as surprised that they beat Order. That Order team obviously was on its knees and it was coming to a bit of an end. So it was more that Bliss result. I mean, we honestly all thought we'd be seeing Bliss in APAC South this year. and it ended up being because of these guys. And they had a tremendous run. They also beat MH. They went and did the gauntlet, winning 6 maps out of 7 games. I mean, that is, 6 maps out of 7 games. So tremendous. I'm looking forward to see what they do this year. Pretty much no expectations, at least from my end. I mean, I'm not sitting back saying these guys are going to win any of the stages or anything. I think stage 1 is just basically see where they're at compared to actual APAC South teams rather than teams that were in relegation.
No, that's fair enough. I guess we'll kind of just sit back and watch. Of course, for those at home, you may know them as Renatus as well. But let's move on to the map veto, Guz, where we can start to break down one of 9 maps. Again, it's still catching me off a little bit here. It gives me a little bit of a giggle. We've got Clubhouse so far. We have not seen any of the newer maps, of course, looking at Border, Skyscraper, and Theme Park. But Guz, any thoughts on Clubhouse as an overarching storyline for these two teams?
Yeah, so in terms of Clubhouse, we don't have any real up-to-date data for The Last Dance, so we can't really get a good enough read as to whether or not that's a map that's going to favor them. In terms of Elevate, we have a couple of results to go off, but they're not particularly favorable. They did manage to get a win against Team BDS at SI, but then had 2 losses against Sonics and Rogue, so a bit of a mixed bag there. Of course, comparing a 6 Invitational performance to The Last Dance in APAC South on Playday 1 of their very first stage, obviously a little bit different, but just to frame it, Elevate, it is a map that they have played historically quite a bit, 50-50 win rate. So it's very difficult, I think, to look at numbers and really make assertions here as to how this could play out. Elevate's still favored, in my opinion.
Yeah, Xenox, do you think maybe it would have been, The Last Dance might have been a little bit more formidable, if they'd taken them to a newer map, if maybe they'd left, like a Theme Park, a Border in toward the end? Do you think maybe that could have thrown a spanner in the works?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's actually a really astute observation. But I also think for The Last Dance, it's also fine to go to the older maps and sort of really test themselves, right? And kind of see and sense where they're at. So yeah, they could have obviously really tried to force it through. Not that you realistically can force it through because there's so many bans, but I mean, like, all that would have really happened is I think you would have just seen, instead of Bank and Cafe get banned out, Elevate would have then just swapped and banned out the 2 newer maps had they got through. So it's really difficult to maybe force one of those. The best you could probably do is force it so that it gets to the last 2, and then you're just the team that gets to choose between the last 2, and then you get to pick it. So yeah, maybe in the future, that's something that this team could elect to do if they're really struggling on some of the older maps. But I also think, and I'll stand by it, it's also really good to test yourself, see where you're at. Clubhouse is a really good map for that. It's tried and true. Everyone here in APAC South should be able to play Clubhouse to a high degree, and 5-5 is the record for Elevate. I think it's a good team to actually test it against.
That was a close one.
That was very close.
Slip of the tongue there from you, Jake, but well held together.
Thank you, Michael.
He's very on the ball. I tell you what, absolute professional down the line. Guz, it's time for the win conditions, of course. What are we thinking heading into Clubhouse here? I'll give you the Last Dance storyline.
Ooh, Last Dance. Well, they did just come off the back of a hot ranked win against Elevate. Yes, these two teams about 30 minutes ago played each other in ranked, and as far as I'm aware, Last Dance won. So maybe Elevate have completely fallen apart and they're going to get destroyed in this game, but no, that's probably not going to be the case. I think Elevate are just going to be too strong here. They have the pedigree. Yes, they have roster changes, but at the end of the day, they have the experience behind them.
So, Knox, how much of the previous Elevate do we really take? Do we take this new roster with a grain of salt and wait and see what happens in stage 1, or do we back them in a little more and kind of give them the confidence that we had going into SI?
I think when you look at the organization as a whole, you've got an analyst, you've got a coach, you've still got Napier and Griex hanging around the roster as subs, and obviously then the core 3 is Sapper, DCH, and Onigiri. Realistically, as an entire org, as an entire team, yeah, obviously you got Mark, you got Mr. Punch. Those are, big roster changes. But I think as a core collective org, there's actually not that big of an influence when you consider the fact that it's like, it's like 9 people that are technically part of this team, and only 2 have changed. So, and honestly, there could be 2 positive changes at that. And I think as long as Elevate come in with the mindset that they're one of the better teams and act like it and play like it, they should be winning this game. You lose this game as Elevate, and definitely then there's some concerns. The beautiful thing is, like, let's say stage 1 doesn't quite work out, and maybe Mark and Mr. Punch are reasons for that. You could still just bring in Napier and Angry X, and then just kind of go back to that older Elevate roster that you had last year. So I don't think Elevate should be too concerned. They get a bit of a free punch at this with Mr. Punch and Mark, and see where this particular core 5 is at against a team that is obviously still relatively unknown.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time to get underway with all of the action, and to take you through it, it's Raven and Dev.
Thanks very much. Let's get stuck into it. It's been a while since we've casted together, Raven, but I'm keen to get stuck in. I think I'm going to keep messing up whether I'm going to call you Brandon or Raven, but
Both are fine.
we're going to try our hardest, and no doubt these teams are going to as well. Last Dance and Elevate just played a ranked game against each other to warm up, I guess, and now they're going straight into comp.
Yep, and look, I feel like it's very Southeast Asian style of them, but I think this is going to be a really exciting matchup because high expectations on Elevate and probably very little expectations on the Last Dance. So that always creates a very fun kind of matchup. And as you can see there, the social vote, 75% in favor of Elevate, I'd say rightfully so on that one.
Yeah, absolutely backing up what you're saying, your prediction. That said, of course, the Elevate that everyone's been hyped about from 2021 and from Six Invitational. Well, you've got 2 players missing from that roster. Napew been dropped, moved to the sub position. Nerix, who's retired. And you've got 2 former Sharper Esports players joining this roster. Last Dance haven't made any roster moves to my knowledge. I believe this is the exact same 5 players that we saw play in the relegations and earn their spot in this competition. So they've been hunkering down, they've been practicing, but they haven't had a lot of good results on club. So let's see what they can bring here in their debut at Tier 1.
Definitely going to be exciting to see what they bring to the table because their promo relegations run was definitely quite inspiring, honestly, and certainly unexpected. So they got a really big opportunity here to make a statement as they enter APAC South against Elevate, one of the best, if not the best team in Southeast Asia right now. So yeah, definitely going to be a good clubhouse match. And so far in these bans, loving to see the Flores get banned out. And now the Castle as well. Wow. This is actually starting to be quite a spicy little ban phase.
Can I just say, we're playing Clubhouse with Maverick and Thatcher both left unbanned. Like, this is very, very unusual. So this is going to be an exciting game. Valkyrie, finally, we have to have one normal ban in there, one predictable ban in there. It's funny, the Finker ban is one that's that Elevate like to do in the past. So it's funny that we would see that come from Last Dance. But of course, Elevate no strangers to using that operator themselves, and she is very much on meta at the minute. All the hard breaches on the board, Thatcher on the board, kind of just gives teams the freedom to deal with hard breach on Clubhouse whatever method they like.
On top of that, now with Attacker repick in, I feel like it's going to be a lot easier for these teams in this match specifically right now with these bans to be able to shape their lineup to perfectly adapt to what site you're bringing. You know, you could always try and do a bit of a bait and switch in terms of whether you're going to be basement first or top floor, and maybe that scales which hard breaches you bring. Maybe it doesn't because you've got free reign in it, but now they can drone it out and they can really tailor their lineup to this. I think that's creating such an exciting addition into the comp scene.
Yeah, one great example of that is I'm going to bet you right now, I bet you $5 that once Last Dance realize it is basement, one of their hard breaches is going to switch over to a Hibana. I'm telling you right now. I mean, you just may as well pick Hibana. If she's open, I mean, Kaid is in, yes, and we're going to see that. So the Mav has got to be present. But Hibana's just so good on this bomb site. So I would not be surprised if we see that switch come on through. Maybe we see some secondary hard breach gadgets coming out from operators like Buck. I mean, we could see other ops bring that as well. Now I'm going to look really silly because they're not going to do it.
Yeah, look, I think you're going to owe me $5 because that's definitely what's happening. Unlucky, mate.
All right, I'll pay you after the stream.
Beautiful. No, I think, look, they're definitely spoiled for choice with their operator lineup. I think regardless whether they draw Hibana or what they've got, they certainly have what it takes to be able to tackle the site in general. But, you know, Elevate, they love to play it freeform. They love to play a little aggressive at times. Certainly curious to see whether that kind of side of Elevate's playstyle sticks with their roster lineup. Have they really changed what is like core to their playstyle, or if they brought in players that complement their playstyle?
Naturally, you would expect Elevate to want to retain what makes them Elevate, which is that aggressive playstyle, and it always has been, always will be. It's what catches teams off guard, and it's what enabled Elevate to beat the world champions at Six Invitational. Let's not forget that they actually 2-0'd TSM in the group stages of Six Invitational.
Insane.
So I know, right? Like the reigning world champions. So look, Elevate, no chumps, and well, Keen to see if the rookies can step up. Looks like we might see some of the Last Dance players get in the building nice and early, just face-checking these positions. Rix with the diffuser, no less.
Yeah, really good identification here from Last Dance into what Elevate's doing. And certainly with the castle ban, that retreat back to site maybe not as comfy as the old classic SSG roam style that we used to always call out on Clubhouse. But regardless, Elevate have all bailed away now. First 90 seconds, have done a great job with this roam. Stalling out Last Dance a little bit, certainly going to be an important factor with that attacking composition. They're going to be able to burn through things like opening hatches and generally be able to do what they want. So getting that time delay on the roam is perfectly done from Elevate.
Oh, the opening pick is one of the rookies. Mark himself steps up and takes down Hoven from Last Dance, and that is a pretty big pick. As long as Maverick hasn't already opened up these hatches now, I'm not really sure. Mark's found a double now. That's pretty nice for him. Where is he? Is he bottom main stairs? I mean, surely he's got to be just peeking through the vertical holes. That's not something you get to see very often.
Nope. And that's Mark making a beautiful opening statement on his first round in APAC South. Certainly going to make things harder for Last Dance now. As we tick into 45 seconds, he's going to find Mark on a freebie, though. That's Hermosa, finding that freebie. But Onigiri, he's managed to remain elusive, and then Sapper backs it up with the C4. Beautifully done from Elevate.
Yeah, Onigiri's been here the entire round, just chilling in kitchen. I mean, this is a classic Elevate maneuver. I mean, a classic Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand. They love doing it. They love going with those cheeky positions. Onigiri with the infamous DMR, his weapon of choice, and he finds a double to clean up the last players from the Last Dance. A really, really dominant opening round for Elevate.
Definitely so. In many layers, it all started with a beautiful roam delay on the time and the clear from the Last Dance. They definitely didn't get into a position to start opening hatches or anything like that until about 90 seconds deep. And then at that stage, Mark had the courage to start just peeking in with that SMG-11, picked a double on Onigiri from the kitchen, combined with a double as well. And yeah, that was it for Last Dance. Really good opening round from Elevate, and certainly a little bit concerning on Last Dance's behalf.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to say as well, looking at, you talked a lot about this operator ban phase, with all the hard breaches in, with Thatcher in, you got to feel like the attackers should, in theory, be a little bit favored here. And so the fact that we're seeing Elevate start so strong on defense, if they can maintain that, you got to have a lot of confidence going into the second half for Elevate, because they, I mean, these days with attacker repick, with all the hard breaches and Thatcher in, I would expect a 3-3, if not an attacker-favored Clubhouse. Surely.
Yeah, look, I would tend to agree with you, but I guess that's where we're going to start to see differences in teams, right? I guess strategically with attacks, there's a sweeping generalization after watching 2.5 matches so far. Not even that. Obviously, like, yeah, attackers are going to be spoiled for choice. They're going to be able to drone out, get info, do attacker repick, extra depth of strategy. But you still have to execute on it. You still have to be a coordinated team. So that's just adding, I guess, in a way, an extra layer to like the skill that separates teams. You can identify strategies and bring the right lineups, but you still got to actually do the work.
That's a great point. I think a lot of people get caught up in thinking, oh, well, attacker repick is going to completely break the game because, well, teams can just bring whatever operator hard counters. Like, yeah, you can bring an operator that might counter one of the defenders. Doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win the round, and it's a lot harder than you'd think most of the time. Nonetheless, Jim Bedroom on the defense for Elevate. Let's see what the Last Dance have in store. For those who aren't aware, Last Dance coming up through relegations, they got picked up by their former organization, Renatus, and that is why you were seeing the RTS tags on their players. However, they're playing this match as the Last Dance, but they are Renatus as well. So if we accidentally call them Renatus, don't blame us. Please don't blame us.
Don't hurt us. It doesn't stand for real-time strategy either, I can tell you that.
No, but, you know, Rainbow Six is a bit of an RTS game. Oh, see you later. Got Mr. Punched right in the face, didn't he? And that's a nice early pick for Last Dance.
Yeah, nicely done to get that opening. Certainly going to make things slightly more comfortable as they progress. Also taking off that Kaid, so any electric claws in place are set. And now DCH, oh, lucky to get away with that one while still alive. Hermosa not quite capitalizing on it. And look, I just want to quickly touch. Mark's playing Thorn. Of course, Thorn, newly available for this stage or this season. And we haven't seen a whole lot of it.
Yeah. have not seen very much Thorn at all. In fact, my spreadsheet is getting confused and I'm typing in this operator. It's like, who's that? Sorry, did Ape just... Okay, Mark just managed to find a peek out the window with that brand new weapon. I think that's the first kill we've seen with the Uzi in competitive Rainbow Six, to my knowledge. Not sure if it was played at all last night. But Mark already showing what Thorn is capable of.
It's already been quite the back and forth round, but as we enter the final minute, looks like Elevate have some really good positions on site, but they will start to be surrounded quite nicely here by Last Dance, and Hermosa taking out Onigiri, certainly going to give them the advantages they need as they start to progress towards an execute. But this is the struggle. Elevate are holding tightly. Rix backs it up for Last Dance to try and make this more achievable. Sapper and Mark, it's on their shoulders to hold this one down for Elevate.
4v2 now for the Last Dance as they slowly find the final positions of these Elevate players. But Mark, he's found his third on the round, or second or third. He's been going nuts. Finally traded back, puts it all on to Sapper. SMG 11 in hand, and he's found the first, finds the second. It's a 1v1. Rix can't get it done. And Elevate, thanks to Sapper, salvage a round that they never should have had.
Unbelievable. That's got a sting for the Last Dance. They did it most things right up until that last 30-second mark, a little bit under, and a great job from Elevate to stand up and withstand that one, extending their lead to 2-0. And at least in our opinion, Dev, probably a little bit against the grain again, feeling that attackers should probably be finding some comfort in their halves in this match.
No doubt about it. It really came down to this 3K from Elevate, from Sapper, no less. He went absolutely nuts with that SMG 11, isolating those 1v1s and some crisp headshots to lock it in. Elevate, got to be very happy about that one because, well, Last Dance had it on a silver platter before them. They looked very much in the prime position to take that round, managed to convert to a 4v2, put that down into a 3v1. Sapper diff.
Sapper diff, exactly right. Speaking of diff, Elevate diff in terms of their operators. I tell you what, every site have played quite different combinations. Everyone playing different operators in general. You know, it's like whoever's playing Kite, it was DCH in round 1, it was Mr. Punch in round 2, and now it's Onigiri here in round 3. They're really flexing around all the different operators and roles. And again, it's something that's always been a pretty decent strength of Elevate, is they are open to just experimenting and playing all different kinds of operators and different compositions. It's always something that's generally worked out quite well for them.
And looking at that, Onigiri, Mark, and Mr. Punch, 3 players on Elevate, have played a different operator every single round. Haven't doubled up once yet.
Amazing. Love that. True flex.
Absolutely. Now let's see what Last Dance are going to do about this cash attack now. First time that we're seeing them attack this bomb site. Already found Onigiri though. A big player to shut down early, of course, the current world record holder for most kills in a single map at the Six Invitational. And he even gets an NS from Onigiri. That's a pretty big accolade.
Yeah, that's some respect right there for the man. So nicely done. And Last Dance again, putting themselves in a really great position in this first minute. That's actually quite an early pick at that. So yeah, this is already a great start. And making light work of Kennel's Wall as well, now fully breached. This is really good progress. Now Elevate, of course, they want to try and equalize this. DCH seems very keen to try and face check anybody that's entering through Master nice and early.
Mark's in another pivotal position. We saw him get a 2K on the Thorn last round. Now he is tasked with holding Rafters. Can be a very difficult position to hold well. He's got the perfect operator for it. A couple of ADSs from Jaeger to support him, and of course the discs from Wamai will try and protect him from any projectiles coming on through. With time though, the Last Dance will likely mount up pressure onto that position. For now though, pretty decent master push. A lot of drones coming out. Told you they're on the forefront as well. Makes me wonder, is Last Dance going to go for an execute from construction?
They might just do. I mean, yeah, Rix has rotated over to that side. We're coming in towards the last minute now, so they are going to have to start really committing to which direction that push and plant is going to come from. So I think you're right. I think we are going to see a construction-style push here. Last Dance setting up quite well for it here and being very thorough as they progress forward.
Here it comes, the exothermic. However, muted by that mute jammer.
Oh, I see the
Strange
problem.
one. Yeah, I see a problem. I don't know what quite that is. Hover now downstairs, gonna try and nade out that mute jammer, and indeed Rix is able to blow open this wall. 40 seconds left in the last dance. Have a very nice gaping hole in the bomb site.
I do, and you can see Elevate, they've spread out now. They've vacated cache. They're going to have to play it from distance, even potentially a retake if they're not able to get plant denial through. You can see Sapper already used his C4. They don't really have anything for distance denial, and here comes this execute in the 20 seconds.
Wow, told you's found 3 on the round. It's just on Sapper and DCH to go big. Sapper's done it before, hasn't died yet this match. That said, his hope of doing so has quickly escaped him, vanished before his eyes. DCH desperately trying to wield this suppressed 416 carbine in the 1v3, makes it a 1-on-2. 8 now, holding the cross, and he's got the perfect line. Last Dance can find their first round in this match.
Started to really look a lot more comfortable, and maybe just the first round or first 2 rounds in a way were just some jitters. Of course, very big match for them coming up into APAC South for the first time. As far as I can recall, none of these players have played at this level ever on previous rosters. So, you know, it's definitely going to induce some early nerves, but these last 2 rounds have looked very nice from the Last Dance, to be honest.
It's nice to see some flashes of greatness, some things to get excited about for the newest team in the league, especially going up against the best team in the league, arguably. I think over the course of 2021, Elevate could proudly say that they were the #1 team in APAC South. Just consistently across the 3 stages, they were the best team. They, of course, were the only APAC South team at 6 Invitational, and they made quite a statement when they were there as well. So what we've really got is the #1 team in the league versus the newest team in the league. So absolutely, we should be expecting Elevate to take this match. If Last Dance can put up a big fight, that's mad respect, and that's quite a big statement to make coming into the first Playday of APAC South.
10 seconds left.
Absolutely. And, you know, some people might debate maybe that were Elevate the top team coming out of APAC South? Yes, they made SI, but does that mean that based on form they were? Actually, yes, they definitely were. Looking at the full standings for the year, 41 points out at the top of the table. The next closest was 33, which was Chiefs.
Wow.
And the rest of APAC South was all within basically 3 points of each other until you got to those relegation spots. So yeah, Elevate definitely were a stand above the crowd last year. So already a much better effort from Last Dance considering the caliber of their opponents. And even on Clubhouse, you know, we've seen some really strong maps from Elevate on Clubhouse. So to be holding their own nice and early here is a really great sign.
It's insane that most of the league was within 3 points of each other, considering that there were 21 matches, and each of those matches you can get 3 points. That is insane. That all the teams was so tight, and it goes to show how close APAC South is as a league and continues to be. Even though this is the #1 team versus the newest team, we don't expect it to be a whitewash. And here's Hermosa already taking down Mark, shutting down one of those fast fraggers early in the game. An attempted refrag from Onigiri, but nets nothing. He retreats back to bomb site.
And look, definitely doing a great job with these opening picks on the attack now is the Last Dance. It's really setting them up for some strong rounds, and they're doing a really good job on capitalizing it. It's starting to do lots of things right. And almost halfway through this round, they have some really good map control, and now they really struggled last time for the Church Arsenal attack to clear out Elevate on that roam. It really took up a lot of their time, and ultimately they never really got a chance to push towards site. They never really got past this first floor.
So already making good progress. You can see Tolji on the buck, making angles down into Arsenal through the kitchen floor from above in the logistic office floor. Safe from any potential C4s vertically. A smart and safe maneuver. Elevate not choosing to reinforce all of the dirt tunnel enables Hermosa to breach it easily with some breaching charges. Last Dance just figuring out the situation. Still haven't breached the kitchen hatch yet. And they'll have to be pretty prompt in doing so. Otherwise, the time will run out. The electric claws could potentially protect it. What is the play for Last Dance?
Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit disjointed and certainly concerning in a time management perspective. They had the control they needed at about the 90-second mark. And now this last minute, they've really taken their time getting set for an execute. They've got less than 30 seconds now, and you can see Elevate still very spread out on site. They still have some really great positions for plant denial. And it's still not super clear where this plant is going to come out, but they found themselves a good man advantage.
A 5v3 could be enough to pull this across the line, even without any significant hard breach. And Abe, oh no! That's a team kill! And now at the back of Arsenal, Onigiri, he's got to step up! And he does! Traded now. It's just DCH. They know exactly where he is, and Tolji can finish off the round. Another spray down with the C8. Last Dance are back in the game.
They really are, and honestly, they could be ahead because you've got to think back to that round where they really kind of bundled a really nice attack on Gym Bedroom. Certainly could have been looking at a 3-1 lead at this point, but regardless, they really are back in the game. They're looking really confident and comfortable. Definitely concerning about the time management towards the end of that round, and also the team kill could have been the nail in the coffin on that kind of revival for Elevate, but not to be. And this 2-2 scoreline, yeah, look, I think that's got to feel good for Last Dance right now.
There's no doubt, and I think that round, if anything, tells you the power of having a man advantage. Because despite Elevate's best efforts, despite Onigiri finding that swift 2K on the bomb site, Last Dance still prevailed with a man advantage throughout, thanks to finding 2 picks earlier in the round. If they can keep that up, you look at it so far, they have almost every single round, for 3 rounds in a row now, found the opening kill. And that is putting them in all these situations where it's so hard for Elevate to come back. Even a big play in the late round might not be enough. If you consider that one of the round wins for Elevate so far was a 1v3 clutch from Sapper, which you can't really rely on.
No.
I feel like Last Dance is having a fantastic game so far. This could easily be a 3-1.
Yeah, it definitely flipped it around after that first round. And again, like, we really felt like that was to be expected to an extent because of the way that the situation for the game feels now for attackers. You feel like they should have a natural advantage. The bans for the operators dictated that, so in a way it feels normal that we're seeing this, but again, it is Last Dance versus Elevate. As you said, the freshly promoted versus the top of last year in APAC South. So it's no small feat, and they're doing a really great job filling the shoes that they needed to fill.
The Last Dance demonstrating their maturity as a team, not to be underestimated. They might be a fresh face to you who've only watched APAC before. Perhaps you missed the relegations. Perhaps you didn't watch their journey through the Nationals last year. But, my God, you're certainly seeing that they are quite a team to behold. What was that? What was it? Please, Raven, just tell me, what on earth did I just watch?
That was a team that clearly warmed up in ranked, but also, no, look, also very classic Elevate. They are going to experiment that kind of stuff, and you love them for it, but this happens. Sometimes they get punished, and props to Last Dance for at least punishing that, you know, very punishable kind of play that they tried to do. In general, Elevate's playstyle, it can be very risk-reward. In this case, the risk didn't pay off. But look, DCH, he's on a bit of a roam over here. They identified last time that Last Dance favored that master bedroom construction execute. So Elevate really identifying that they need to hold this down a bit longer.
When Onigiri is dying early so frequently, it's a bit of a cause for concern. Elevate often rely on him to step up, the captain of the roster. In his interview after he got 26 kills against, I can't remember which team it was at 6 Invitational, 26 kills in 1 map. He was asked, you know, what was going through your mind? He's like, okay, guys, I just need to carry. That was what was going through his mind. He's certainly not doing that right now, I can tell you that much. Even scoreline, 4 kills, 4 deaths, but I mean, he's capable of so much more.
Definitely is, but once again, the Last Dance, they're relentless. They took up that map control as soon as they saw DCH leave. They've pursued this the setup for their execute really nicely. They've given themselves a lot of time. They're really ticking a lot of the right boxes here, and Elevate haven't been able to find an answer until Mr. Punch steps up and he takes out Rix.
30 seconds left, and the difference between this defense from Elevate and the previous time they played this site is they're not vacating cash. Look at this, a nice run out, but it doesn't net anything, and Last Dance have just flooded into the site. DCH and Mark to hold on. Mark in rafters, he has to land this fight onto the player outside the AC window, but Tolji gets the better of him, and DCH is no more. The Last Dance have found 3 rounds in a row.
Looking absolutely clean. I mean, not super clean, but like pretty good, right? Like Last Dance are actually looking really good. And again, I think that should be framed with, we have very little expectations of them right here. Freshly promoted. We felt like they might struggle, particularly against an opponent like Elevate, but honestly, they're not struggling a whole lot. They're doing a really good job at capitalizing on some really big mistakes that Elevate are making their gameplay. And even not necessarily mistakes, things like the swiftness that they took Master and Construction after DCH forfeited it. I know it's a small thing, but sometimes you see teams, they stall out an attack, particularly if they're a little bit nervous, maybe they're a bit slow at progressing. Just not seeing that from Last Dance. They're pushing this with confidence.
It's funny. Elevate has a magical way of making even the best teams in the world look silly because of their aggression, because of their unpredictable nature and play style. That's how they beat the current world champions TSM 2-0 at 6 Invitational, and all of the other teams, world-class teams at SI that they made look silly at that event. And yet here we are, humble Last Dance, and they have absolutely no problems dealing with anything that Elevate throws at them. Aggressive mirror windows, spawn peaks, it doesn't matter. Runouts, the Last Dance has never once fallen victim to one of these aggressive plays from Elevate. And now we're seeing another unpredictable maneuver from the Thai team, a bar and stage defense.
Actually love that. I love seeing bar stage defenses because I think the strats that you have to employ to try and win this is really fun. Like you have to extend above, you have to try and hold that map control for quite a while. You can't just chill out in the bar stage level because it's pretty easy to surround and pinch and push out as an attacking team. So this is going to really test Last Dance's coordination here. They're going to have to really be careful as they try and push out these Elevate players.
I will say, if there's anything we've seen from Last Dance so far, it's that they tend to be pretty good at methodically taking map control and countering aggression, which is exactly what you need to do on a bomb site like this. So I actually have been really impressed, and I'm optimistic for the Last Dance. We once again see the Thorn. It's DCH this time, and he's roaming upstairs. Oh! Onigiri has finally managed to make one of these aggressive plays work, and Ape goes down. A big player and a big weapon, that LMGE, to take down so early in the round.
A good start to the round for Elevate this time around. I think it's the first time in what feels like a while they've had an opening kill. So that's certainly gonna help. And again, with this defense, it's important for them to stay fluid. DCH certainly getting himself into a potential trap position here. Hoven on the outside of this master window can try and contest once his teammates just get a little bit closer. And now that he's droned out, he's going to have to make some decisions. Looks like he's going to bail. No, he's going to go deeper, it looks like, on that outline, and he loses it to Hoven.
Evens the man count now. 4 players each side. Hoven does lose that Twitch drone, however. Sapper might actually have a potential flank as well on through Lounge. Still several Elevate players upstairs here. Keeping in mind the bomb site is bar stage, far, far away from Mark up here in the logistic office.
Certainly a less expected position, and look at that, he's capitalized. He's taken out Tolji. He's given Elevate this man advantage as we've come down to last 45 seconds for the Last Dance to prep this execute. As Rix has opened the stage wall, it is actually Hermosa that has that diffuser. They need to dedicate something to a push here, and Elevate has some really great positions deep into the bar.
And Last Dance don't have much info. Only 3 drones left. You can see the teammates, the dead players, they're barely trying to flick those cams. They don't have much info to help to their teammates. Elevate might be able to get back into this right now as they wait in the 4v3. Last Dance have to push on in. A smoke goes out. But what can they do with it? Mark on the flank upstairs takes down Rix. Hermosa and Hoven both find kills. However, it all comes down to a last-ditch effort, and Elevate can easily dismiss the final players from the Last Dance. An even scoreline at the end of the first half.
I would say that's actually quite a win for Elevate as well, to have pulled out a 3-3 for that half. I don't know about you, Dev, but it really did feel like the Last Dance had more of the control, more of the momentum in general in that half. So to actually pull it out at even peg 3-3, I think is very good for Elevate at this stage.
Especially considering what we talked about at the start of this match, which was looking at those operator bans, Finca and Flores, not a single hard breach banned out, no Thatcher banned out. It leaves everything on the table. That should, in theory, favor the attack. Elevate should be able to win 4 rounds in this half and polish off this match without too much trouble, to be honest.
Certainly feels that way, but we'll see what Last Dance have in store for us on defense. It's like Church Arsenal's going to be their first bomb site as well, so going down to the bottom floor. But Elevate, they are well prepared already with their lineup. With attacker repick, they can be even more prepared. And look, nothing particularly different, outstanding, special, whatever you want to call it, from Last Dance's lineup. Looks like they're just keeping it fairly stock standard for how you would look to hold this site.
Really looking at Elevate now, how they're going to be going for this attack. Will we see some operator switches? Here we go. Hey, Brandon, I'll bet you $5 that they're going to repick to Hibana. You take that take that on me this time?
Nah, not this time.
Look at all the repicks.
4. That's
well,
nice.
DCH doesn't count. It's sledge to sledge. But I think all the other ones count. Interesting that we're seeing the Thatcher go in. So it looks like Onigiri didn't want to play the Maverick. No one on Elevate wanted to bring that Maverick. But to counter the Electroclaws from Caillou, they decided to bring the Thatcher instead. I rate this. I think this is a really strong hard breach duo. Plus, you got plenty of soft breach in the Zoph and the Sledge as well.
Yeah, and I guess twofold with the Zoph, right? Breach charges, and you can use the propelled impact grenades from Zofia. So, yeah, I think it's pretty well rounded. I would be very scared for Elevate if they couldn't pick out a well rounded attack lineup after what's available. So no, this looks good so far, and looks like they're going for that classic top down approach. They have identified that Last Dance are going to try and hold some of this map control early.
Is that 2 players up the top of the main stairs? Believe it may have been. Looked like Last Dance started to fall off, taking aggressive but safe positions, it seems. And they've, in fact, all gone downstairs. I believe there's still 1 player left in secret, in storage, just at the top of the blue stairs. Tolji, Hoven there as well to support, potentially looking for a re-roam. But Onigiri is waiting. Now Onigiri is going to open up the hatch. And that's one pretty significant step complete for Elevate.
And it does force a big decision. You can see here, Last Dance, they are going to pull away from being a little bit more aggressive in storage. And that's because with that stock hatch open, their entire rotate back to blue can be cut. So they either have to force to be aggressive at the hatch or force to be aggressive at the storage stairs. So obviously, to avoid that, come back to site. You don't want to give any freebies to Elevate, certainly at this stage. However, Hoven has unfortunately given Mark his life.
I believe that was he trying to impact trick? I didn't quite see that, but regardless, it looks like the impact trick's going to be fairly easily countered here. 8 may be able to deny some time, but it is irrefutable. Onigiri on the Hibana, just putting 2 pellets on at a time. It's natural and inevitable that there will be 4 pellets detonating and that kitchen hatch opened up. So really strong there from Elevate, and a great feature of why attacker repick was so impactful, getting that Hibana on the board and countering the impact trick.
Yeah, definitely so. This just in general feels like a much more well-rounded attack here from Elevate.
Sapper.
Oh, Sapper. No! He's missed Tolji on the prone near the breach, and that's it's going to cost him. And now, Dev for Elevate. I don't know. I was about to say it's falling apart. It's not, though. It's 3 versus 3.
It's non-stop, though. Like,
it is
what is happening? You don't get a moment to breathe in, breathe deep, and soak in that Elevate might just have a shot here. That said, Diffuser has been dropped at the bottom of main stairs. And above, Rix is watching through a vertical angle. Tolji's been on fire in this match. And now Mark has to clutch up the 1v2, but Tolji is still sitting pretty. The pre-fire comes through, but Tolji breaks double digits to win the round out for the Last Dance.
Tolji's nuts. Yeah, he's having a great game. He's really been stepping up in the frag department for his team, but also he's holding down some very important control. That being said, sorry, Sapper. Gonna wind it back. Sapper was staring right into Tolji's eyes for a solid like 3 seconds. And unfortunately, Sapper ended up dying to Tolji. And look what happens. Told you kind of really won that one for Last Dance off some really solid anchoring play on the Kaid. And here they are. Elevate have just slipped away from an attack win that was feeling like it was about to be in their reach.
To be fair, why would you expect someone to lay prone as the Ace Selma detonates and opens a breach? Like, that was a very strange play from Tolji, and he would have looked so silly had he been punished there, but he didn't, and he ended up getting, what, a 3 or 4K on the round. So if it works, it works. And like I said, he's the only guy in the server who's managed to break double digits.
Maybe one of those instances where Elevate needs to be treating others how they would treat them, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely a play that you would expect to see from Elevate.
No doubt whatsoever. Speaking of Elevate, I gotta say, Mark is, at least on the scoreboard, really showing up. Funny that he's got a lot of kills, the most kills on his team, but also the most deaths in the server. So he's getting in a lot of engagement. Some he's winning, some he's not. Still net positive, but he's certainly the most aggressive, statistically, player in the server at the moment.
Yeah, look, so far I think Mark's had a fairly decent debut. I also totally have to say, I meant to mention it earlier, every time the desk was saying Mark and Mr. Punch, I'm like, this has to be a cartoon. Like, it sounds like the title of a cartoon or something, right? It's not just me, is it?
No, I totally see that. Yeah, I don't know. I can almost like see it and hear the little theme song, Mark and Mr. Punch.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's happening. Someone out there has made it.
If not, prime time. This is it.
There you go. You can send us royalties later.
Oh dear. All right, Elevate. They have to go through the motions here for a gym bedroom attack. Going to decide to use the Maverick to open up Kennel's wall, which is quite interesting, I guess. Like, I would have expected that maybe they would use the Mav over on Jacuzzi's side, but again, with the Thermite up on the board, maybe that's where they're going to use that. This is definitely taking a little bit longer than I was expecting. Not sure what Onigiri's doing here.
Oh, he's fluffed it.
Oh no.
There we go. Oh my God. There is nothing scarier than trying to open holes that you have messed up with Maverick, especially when you think there's someone peeking you. Fortunately for Onigiri, there was not. Fortunately for Elevate, they managed to breach not only the Kennels wall as we saw, but also the Jacuzzi wall. It's pretty much 90% of what you need to breach on this site, to be honest. So from here on out, it's just a game of map control. Wait a second. DCH was right around the corner from Ape as he dropped down that hatch.
And now on the pursuit, DCH, he shuts down Ape. So that's a good opening pick once again for Elevate. Now, they didn't convert in the previous round. Certainly gives them an opportunity to do so right here. First 90 seconds in. Done a great job in terms of their attack progression. You can see that Last Dance basically all back on site now. Still a little bit of presence in Con, but it's given Elevate that chance to take CC cash control. They can start to try and push out Logi. They've got the Jacuzzi wall open. So they're fairly well set. It's about trying to push and get map control. And unfortunately, once again, Onigiri, he's been able to be taken out of the round without much impact.
Elevate, up until that point, was significantly favored. They're going to be able to convert it now. Oh no, the drop from Hoven goes down through the gym hatch and likely able to rotate back to site unscathed as well. Elevate their lead, slipping gradually. Rix nails Sapper down, and it goes from a 5v4 to a 1v4. Mark, the man to step up for Elevate. Made it a 1v3 now. Not impossible, certainly not with this gun, as he has broken double digits now. He's going to have to go up against Tolji, his rival on the other side, as well as two other players on the Last Dance. The shotgun in close range is a scary prospect for him to deal with, and Tolji gets the better of him. Last Dance go up 5 rounds to 4 unexpectedly in this match.
Yeah, Elevate, they're actually struggling a little bit with these attacks. And look, they're getting some opening picks. They're putting themselves in some great positions as well. Again, like we've called out, some of their time management and general progression has been good. But Last Dance are doing fantastic at not getting intimidated. They're holding their ground really well. They're choosing their aggression times quite nicely. The drop down, I think it was Hoven on the Maestro in Billiards, was just perfectly timed to get a pick. And it kind of just opened things back up for the Last Dance. I think you pointed out at the time that Elevate were poised to kind of take the round, or it felt like they were favored to take the round at that stage. So look, I think a lot of credit to Last Dance right here.
Now Elevate take their tactical timeout. A lot to talk about. And interestingly, it's actually one of the newest players on the roster, Mark, who seems to be doing a lot of the talking. contributing his thoughts. Sapper, I always thought, was one of the more vocal players on the team as he plays support, but he looking fairly stern at the moment. You can see the vibe of this typically very energetic team, somewhat mellow.
Yeah, they seem focused is the way I would say it. You know, like even just Onigiri, then you saw him go out for the fist bumps with his teammates. You know, they're not over energetic. They don't look depressed either. You know, it feels like it's more like a focused energy. And yeah, look, I think cool insight to see that Mark actually being quite a vocal one. He's certainly been playing quite well for Elevate here, so it would be cool to see how he progresses throughout the stage. So far, seeming like a fairly good pickup for Elevate.
And let's be honest, like there was a lot of criticism of Elevate. In fact, there's been a lot of criticism of very many teams globally that have been making roster changes. There are a large number of teams I could mention globally, but I think particularly within APAC, Elevate was one that copped a lot of flack. People were saying, well, why would you drop Nerix? Why would you drop Napier? They're two of your best players. And well, yes, statistically, you can't deny that. Nerix in particular, when Nerix joined Elevate, they'd kind of been messing around with this fifth player for a while. They tried BG Man, Angry X. Nothing quite seemed to fit until Nerix turned 18 and they got him on. But it's nice to see that there was talent in the Thai scene all along, but they were on Sharper. And now they've come in, and Mark is seeming like a fantastic pickup for Elevate.
Yeah, I think that's definitely some credit to Elevate in general. I think they're like really good at trying to foster upcoming talent. You know, they have an academy roster that they participate with locally in Thailand. So they really have a lot of depth in terms of talent that they can search for. Of course, they did get these players from Sharper, like you said, but regardless, it seems like they are really focused on that kind of future thinking in terms of their roster. So look, keen to see whether this starts to fit for them. Right here, though, they are certainly struggling against what seems to be a fairly formidable opponent in Last Dance. It's catching us and probably a lot of you at home off guard a little bit, but only 2 rounds away from winning this map.
I gotta say, if there's any player in the server right now who I would back into every single gunfight, it is Tolji. He has been nuts. Like +7 right now. It's been a while since I've seen a player looking this dominant in the server. And, well, if the Last Dance can keep him in top form, then it won't just be Elevate that potentially fall victims. It may well be a slew of APAC South teams. Exciting prospects for the Last Dance, this soon-to-be Renatus roster as they start their campaign.
Sapper just missing out, getting the opening pick once more for Elevate. I mean, they've had the opening pick every single one of their attack rounds.
Oh, no!
Except for here, Hermosa comes out on top of that one, and that's Mark, unfortunately, going down. We gassed him up a bit. Maybe we cursed him here, Dev. But regardless, opening death now for Elevate on this round.
Very uncharacteristic of Mark from what we've seen this game so far. Even from just seeing the fact that he had pre-aimed it perfectly, just couldn't pull the trigger fast enough. Fortunately for Elevate, they are managing to trade it back as Sapper eventually finds the refrag. 4v4 now. Hermosa in a dangerous position up at top rafters, but he is low HP and vulnerable. A single bullet would be the end of him.
Also holding very critical map control here. As soon as he loses Garage, you know Elevate are going to be in. They're going to be looking for that Rafters control, and it will be a massive linchpin to Elevate potentially succeeding on this attack. So a lot of pressure right here on Hermosa to hold this just as long as possible.
The flashes come through. He's fully blind, but only for a moment. And Ape down below. What's he managed to do? Sneaking into Oil Pit, and now it's all over Red Rover. Mr. Punch, rather. I guess that's the other character in the cartoon. Mr. Punch in a 1v3 finds the first kill from the 1v4, but man, this just ain't gonna happen. And the shotgun packs a lot more of a punch than he expected. Last Dance of on match point. I cannot believe this, Raven.
Yeah, look, it's certainly surprising, but I guess considering the form they've been presenting round and round here, is it that much of a surprise? Like, overall expectations, yes, but their form has just been great here on Clubhouse. Elevate have struggled to find answers, and even when Elevate have given themselves advantages like having those opening kills, I mean, we harp on it a lot, but when teams are converting those, it's pretty crucial to victories, and unfortunately for Elevate, they haven't really been able to convert on them.
Certainly weren't able to convert on the tactical pause, that's for sure. And, well, it's crazy. It's soaking in. Like, it's becoming reality for me right now. 6-3, and this isn't Elevate playing terribly, to be honest. Like, you could entertain the notion that, oh, maybe the 2 new pickups from Elevate really threw them off. Maybe they were just struggling as a team. No, I mean, they're not playing their best, but they're certainly not playing their worst. We've seen a lot worse from Elevate in the past. Last Dance, I think they were underestimated. Like, I don't know if Elevate underestimated them. Of course, Elevate have played Last Dance a lot before, but I certainly underestimated them. I'll tell you that much. In the past, when these teams have played, I'm pretty sure that Elevate typically get the better of them. But we're certainly not seeing that right. Actually, you know what? I do have a stat. From the 13th of September, Elevate played Renatus, so this roster, Last Dance roster, on Clubhouse in the Gakwe scrimmage, so like a tier 3, tier 4 tournament. And Last Dance won 7-3.
There you go. I mean, look, very different Elevate roster, right?
Very, very different.
But
It was also like 6 months ago.
yeah, still, like that can happen. I know, at least locally in obviously the Oceanic region, some teams just have those like, I don't know, like bogey opponents that they just, for some reason, no matter what roster iteration they're in, just can't overcome. Maybe that's the story here for Southeast Asia. Maybe it's Elevate, Last Dance, Renatus, whatever. Maybe that's them. Renatus just have their number somehow.
Certainly possible. Oh, interesting. Managing to shoot off one of the X-Kairos. Onigiri is just going to play this game for a bit. But it shouldn't be too difficult now for him to eventually get this hatch open. Ape's going to deny another set of X-Kairos, but he's all out of impacts now. Hermosa does have impacts. Oh my god, that certainly is going to have an impact. DCH gets C4'd off the planet by Hermosa.
I think we got to see that from the best seat in the house. Unfortunately for DCH. But Mr. Punch, he hits hard with not impact grenade, frag grenade, in fact. So Ape, he's gonna be off the board, and now that's at least equalized in fairly quick succession. But regardless, I think losing DCH it's not gonna help. He's obviously on the Thatcher with the EMPs. Potentially already used them. I didn't quite see before he died whether he still had them in the pockets, but either way, it's certainly not going to help. Coming into this last minute, Elevate really need to step it up because they need to get 3 of these rounds in a row just to salvage this match and push it to overtime.
Good nade, though, from Mr. Punch. He won't necessarily be aware that he's managed to get that down, and the revive is going to come through, so really prompt there on the ball from the Last Dance. Now 50 seconds remain. Elevate, they look a bit scared. I'm not going to lie. They don't look completely ready for this, and there's still a player deep armory, Hoven, on the pulse. Onigiri very aware of his position, and, well, likewise. Is he going to be able to escape?
Certainly needs to try and make something happen. And you're right, Elevate, they feel a bit slow right here. Last Dance just waiting for the onslaught, waiting for the execute. But they have what's needed to stall it out. Mr. Punch trying to push through, but here it is. Elevate pushed aside Dev.
Now I'm going to 4 versus 2. It's on Hermosa and Rix. But as I say that, Mr. Punch has found his 4K, looking for the ace. Sapper goes down. Rix makes this winnable. Mr. Punch has to get that diffuser planted, but Onigiri is there. Match point still, but Elevate have found some level of redemption.
Definitely better from Elevate there. And look, Mr. Punch went huge for the quad to help Elevate to pull that one out. I still have 2 more to go, but that was definitely a bit better. You're going to see a replay of DCH, fortunately getting C4 through the floor. But no, look, I mean, we said about Elevate that maybe they were a bit hesitant, a bit stalled out. Look, maybe that was to their credit. Maybe they just weren't a little bit sure on something. They wanted to, I don't know, re-drone, get info. Maybe they're looking for a particular pick on one of those positions. Maybe that really works out for them, you know, not to try and rush it, not to try and get aggressive in that moment, just to take a step back, take a breath, and be really ready for their push to sight.
Well, in the end, it worked. Elevate managed to find the first step towards overtime. Remembering we have overtime. If we go there, it's no longer a 3-point win. It'll be 2 points to whoever wins and 1 point to whoever loses. But in that regard, I mean, Elevate have already been robbed of a potential 3-point win, right? Like, that's already locked in. Last Dance have guaranteed themselves 1 point out of this match. And against the top team in the league, that's pretty damn impressive for your first ever match in Tier 1.
Yeah, you definitely take those. So why not? It's got to feel good. But of course, what feels better? Getting 3 points against the top team in your first appearance at this level. So hopefully Last Dance aren't suffering from any kind of anxiousness or nervousness now that they see themselves on match point, because that's the other end of it. You know, you can get nerves and the shakes at the start of a game as a team that's maybe a little bit less experienced or trying to prove something. But the other instance is when you are in quite a lead like this and you're about to get match point, kind of reintroduces some of those nerves.
It's just one of the things they're going to have to battle here now that they're on the defense. We theory crafted this was likely to be an attacker-sided match, thanks to attacker repick and the operator veto panning out as it did. Elevate have got to put the pedal to the metal though, because they've only won a single out of 4 attempts so far on their attacking side. Mark on for the entry though. This is the gym and bedroom defense. Elevate 50 seconds in have made decent progress in terms of the breach. And about to make some more here. This wall is free as can be, or at least it seems that way. Oh no, that timing could not have been better for Tolji. Honestly, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, literally perfect. Like millisecond perfect. Sapper didn't have an opportunity to second guess whether he should place that down. So really well played. And once again, Elevate just getting outplayed in general by the Last Dance. But they've got some really good map control here. They're in CC, they're in cash. They've got plenty of time to start to put some pressure back onto site.
In terms of hard breach, you got one Selma left from Ace. I don't believe there's any exothermics left by Sapper. Not a lot to get a breach on for the Jacuzzi wall. If they are able to, well, that would be a very, very small and lackluster breach. Elevate outplayed, as you said, but there you go. A nice nade and the lead-off kill for Elevate.
Tell you what, the dynamic duo of Mark and Mr. Punch is doing a great job here for Elevate. The 2 newest players to the roster, they are combining for some really impactful kills and just again helping Elevate forward in the struggle that's been this match against the Last Dance. They have this man advantage coming into the last minute right here.
Those 2 players for Elevate having more kills than the rest of the team combined. And now on a Geary, sprayed down, traded by Sapper. Old and reliable, DCH coming up the main stairs, but they know exactly where he is and where he's coming from. Mark, though, to help support. He does take down 8. DCH still at the top of main stairs. Rix is down and out. Told you the last man standing, but if there's anyone you want on Renatus doing it, it's got to be him. Still not enough, and Elevate are making this trek towards overtime.
They're getting some momentum. They're looking more confident. And again, I don't know whether it's just maybe Last Dance getting the shakes, getting a little scared, or whether it's simply Elevate finally getting on top of what Last Dance is trying to do. Regardless, it's looking much cleaner for Elevate here. 1 round away from salvaging something in this match and pushing it to OT.
I want to know what Mark and Mr. Punch are sipping on. Now, what do they got in those bottles? Whatever it is. If you want to be terrorizing your ranked games in this season, that's probably what you want to be sipping on.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's the secret. But either way, this is a Last Dance timeout. They want to chat this through because they certainly don't want to let this go to OT. They want those 3 points. They want that massive victory on their debut in APAC South.
Sorry, I'm being caught off guard by looking at Ape's face.
Yep.
The freeze frame there. I mean, I hope it's frozen. I hope that's not just. I hope he's not just petrified like in Harry Potter. With the is seen a basilisk or something. I don't know.
It's the moment he died. He's just like, what?
Frozen forever. So tactical pause here for the Last Dance, and well, the last chance for the Last Dance to win this in regulation. And what do they need to do, to be honest? I mean, all the bomb sites are now unlocked for them. Church, Gym, Cash. They've won all of them once, but on the second try, Church and Gym both were quite difficult. They're going to go straight back to the bomb site they just lost. Gym and bedroom.
Need to locate and defuse
Yeah, it's interesting when teams do that, right? And I have to think that it must be down to them identifying what they feel like went wrong. Certainly that big grey bar through the middle is not going to help. What was I going to say?
What is that?
Just distracted me. No, I think they need to put some more pressure on CC Cash side. I think that's really important because Elevator getting in there with, I don't know, 90 seconds to go. And it's honestly such important map control when you're trying to push this site. So I think I would love to see more from Last Dance over here on the east side.
10 seconds to go.
So that big grey bar, what you're actually looking at is you're peeking into the ether, the shadow realm. This is actually where
where A
all
point.
It's where all of the reinforcements are stored in the game. You know when operators pull reinforcements out of their pockets? All those reinforcements are kept in the ether, and operators are just like putting into their back pocket. Every operator in their back pocket has a little portal into that Shadow Realm, and they're just grabbing it from in there.
I like that. We're really doing some lore building here, Dev.
I'm down, honestly. If Ubisoft Montreal need to hire some new lore writers, I don't know if that's the title, I'm down. Really, hit me up. @DevMutter James on Twitter.
Oh, the nice self-plug. Love that for you. All right. Elevate, doing a good job here again, getting everything open. This time, looks like they are successfully going to open Jacuzzi as well. So already Last Dance, probably in a worse off position, I'd say, than previous rounds. So that's not good. They need to be stepping it up here. And it doesn't look like they're going to contest Cash CC side at all. So I'm a little concerned at this point for Last Dance on this round.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's going to be tough. I think Emos is going to have a pretty big impact here, holding on to construction. But with the external wall breached, his ADSs could simply be shot, and he's cut off pretty well. So Elevate should have all the ingredients they need. Now another breach. I mean, this is what happens when you leave all the hard breaches on the table, isn't it? Another peek into the Shadow Realm over there. Please ignore that.
Yes. But no, you're right. Like, I mean, there's just so many things right now that I'm kind of questioning from Last Dance. They're giving them a lot of map control. I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be a lot more congestion of what is happening right now. Still so much time on the board for this attack. And you can just see the positioning that Elevate has all around. Last Dance must be really struggling to find their positioning. And look, maybe they'll drop a player below. Actually, there's 2 below right now that could play for denial. But then again, only 1 C4 on the board, so it's certainly a risky play.
Very risky for Ape to be down there. Like you said, he doesn't have a C4. But Elevate, they've got so much map control, so much open, so many gaping holes in this bomb site. The one thing they don't have is a pick. And Last Dance have just stolen that from them.
It's definitely unfortunate for Elevate. They are in such a good position to be able to close this one out. But Last Dance, they're like that mosquito on a hot, moist evening. It won't go away. They're trying to bite constantly at Elevate. So they have one last big bite in them to close this round out. Elevate need to make this push happen to save this.
For the 3 points in their first match of APAC South, 4 versus 3 for the Last Dance. But the new kid on the block, Mark for Elevate, he's stepping up. Rix has got his number. Sapper and DCH are the last players standing, and they drop like flies. Sapper tries his hardest, but no one but Tolji can win out the match. The Last Dance have done it in their first match of APAC South. They've taken down the reigning champions.
What a huge debut victory for the Last Dance, and massive props to them. They played super well that entire game. They really did some big plays. They played well as a team. And again, you got to highlight the opponent they've just taken down. They've taken out Elevate. They're coming off the back of a huge SI performance. And this is pretty unreal for Last Dance to start off APAC South.
Unbelievable for a team that was not even considered a threat to many in the relegations. Now they've come into APAC South, and without a doubt, they have made a statement. What a showing from the newest roster in the league. Elevate are left with more questions than answers after that.
Definitely, and look, that's a bit concerning because they've just gone through a bit of a roster revamp. You would hope that maybe they would have been a bit more comfortable in their skin, but this is the thing about roster changes. Sometimes they click straight away, things look great, and you can build from there. Sometimes they just generally take a bit of extra time. If I was to definitely highlight anything for Elevate, though, they struggled in some of those opening engagements in general, and then even when they were winning some of them, they just struggled to actually convert those into round wins. I think that was a really big deal, and it kind of just always gave Last Dance that look in, that chance to capitalize and turn the tide.
Well, certainly need to catch my breath after that game, so let's toss it over to the desk to break down what happened.
What an incredible start for the Last Dance. Renatus, whichever one we're going to go for. It's been an incredible trajectory from them. from relegations, they beat some of the most formidable teams in the. Well, I mean, they beat Bliss. That was probably the most formidable team that they actually defeated down there nearly a month ago now. And they come in first game against the reigning champs, and that's how you kickstart. Xenox, you could not ask for a better start.
Yeah, definitely. I think they would have gone into this game looking to just kind of see where they're at, comparing themselves to such a strong Elevate roster who obviously did really well at SI. Obviously, they've had a couple of changes themselves, but there's no excuses through that. And I think the biggest testament for The Last Dance is that so many times they've kind of been doubted or maybe looked past. Everyone basically said Bliss was going to win. And then even then, there were a lot of people expecting Order to maybe get the job done. And then even in this game, obviously, for different reasons, Elevate go in as favorites, and yet they still get the job done.
Yeah.
And while obviously Elevate did a decent job to bring it back and have a close scoreline, I think The Last Dance can take so much out of this particular game where moving forward now, it's like, who else can really oppose them? You've just taken down Elevate. The rest of the stage now is up for grabs.
Well, that's just it, isn't there? There's no. I mean, would you argue that there's no bigger foe for them now, Guz? This is kind of like all the pressure off their shoulders.
Well, I mean, it's a very long road, isn't it? So I wouldn't go that far. But the damning stat for me, right, is you look at APAC League 2021. Guess which two teams were the top scoring overall in terms of number of points? It was Elevate and it was Chiefs. Both did big roster changes and both have lost the first Playday. I mean, that just speaks for itself.
It's scary, isn't it, when you consider what's happened on this first Playday. Now, whether this will continue, whether there's a trend that may repeat, I don't know. I'm not even going to try and back that in. But there's certainly something in the water, Xenox, with how much has actually changed coming into this season. Not only have we seen so many roster changes, but we've also seen a change in the game. That we've got those map vetoes that are now going to be so much more complicated. I thought taking them to Clubhouse was going to be, The Last Dance's demise, but it was anything but. I think that really when we look forward now, I did pose the question to Guz about well, what is there that's bigger than Elevate? I guess it's probably time for The Last Dance to actually think about where they want to go this stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's only Playday 1. We